The mahogany desk nameplate felt heavier than it should. Richard Coleman, founder and CEO, engraved in brass letters that had caught Arizona sunlight for 32 years. I ran my thumb across the polished surface, thinking about how this Saturday morning at the engraver's shop was supposed to be a simple errand, picking up the retirement gift I'd commissioned for myself. A matching set for Marcus, my nephew and heir apparent. His nameplate would read, Marcus Coleman, CEO starting Monday. 47 years old, Harvard MBA, married to Diane for 12 years. Marcus had earned this. When my younger brother Daniel died in that construction accident 15 years ago, I'd promised at his funeral to raise Marcus like my own son. My wife Ellen and I never had children. Marcus became our legacy. Coleman Construction and Development had grown from 3 employees to 214, with projects across Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico. Hotels, casinos, mixed-use developments. The company was worth somewhere north of $68 million. Marcus had worked his way up from project manager to COO over the past decade. He'd earned every promotion. The engraver, an elderly craftsman named Mr. Herrera, wrapped both nameplates in velvet cloth. Beautiful pieces, Mr. Coleman. Your nephew will be proud to carry on the family name. I nodded, paid cash, and walked toward my truck in the parking lot. The September heat in Scottsdale was already brutal at 9:30 in the morning. My phone buzzed as I set the box on the passenger seat. A text from an unknown number. No caller ID. Just 10 digits I didn't recognize. Mr. Coleman, check the glove compartment of your truck. Now, before you go to the party tomorrow. Your family isn't what you believe. My hands went cold despite the heat. I sat frozen for maybe 20 seconds, staring at the message. Then I leaned over and opened the glove compartment. Beneath the registration papers and insurance documents, there was a manila envelope. Not mine. I'd never seen it before. Someone had been inside my truck. My heart hammered as I tore it open. Inside were photocopies of documents, bank statements, email printouts, legal correspondence. The first page was a bank statement for an account I didn't recognize. Desert Sky Holdings, LLC. The account showed deposits totaling $3.2 million over the past 8 months. Withdrawals matched those deposits within days, always to a single recipient. Cascades, Casino, and Resort, Las Vegas. $3.2 million to a casino. I flipped to the next page. An email from Marcus to someone named Terry Bouchard, dated 6 weeks ago. Terry, the old man, is finalizing retirement next month. Once I have full control of company accounts, we can settle the outstanding balance. The casino is being patient, but they want confirmation. I can cover the $7.8 million. My signature authority becomes unlimited as soon as he signs over majority ownership. Diane knows nothing about this. Keep it that way. $7.8 million. My vision blurred. I fumbled through the remaining pages. More emails. Legal documents from a lawyer named Patricia Whitmore. A competency evaluation request form. My name at the top. The word dementia appeared 3 times in the first paragraph. A psychological assessment scheduled for next Wednesday, September 19th. 5 days after my retirement party. 5 days after I was supposed to sign the succession documents that would make Marcus majority owner. The final page was a handwritten note on yellow legal paper. Diane's handwriting. I recognized it from Christmas cards. Marcus, I found the bills from Dr. Whitmore. If you're doing what I think you're doing to Richard, I want out. I won't be part of elder fraud. We need to talk before this goes further. I sat in my truck for 18 minutes, reading everything twice, 3 times. The parking lot filled up with Saturday morning shoppers. A family walked past with a stroller. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that mine had just shattered. Marcus had gambling debts, $7.8 million. He'd been siphoning company money through a shell LLC to make payments. And when that wasn't enough, he'd hired a lawyer to have me declared incompetent so he could take full control. My phone showed missed calls from Marcus. 2 from this morning already. Uncle Richard, just confirming you're still good for tomorrow at 2. Diane's been cooking all week. Everyone's excited to celebrate your retirement. I couldn't answer. My voice would give me away. Instead, I started the engine and drove. Not home to my house in Paradise Valley, but west on Loop 101 toward Peoria, to a budget hotel off the interstate where no one would think to look for me. Room 213 smelled like disinfectant and stale cigarettes, but I barely noticed. I spread the photocopied documents across the polyester bedspread and began making notes. Yellow, legal pad, black pen, the same way I'd analyzed construction bids and development deals for 3 decades. Question 1. Who sent this warning? Who had access to these documents and cared enough to risk exposing Marcus? Question 2. How deep did the gambling go? 7.8 million was catastrophic. How much had he already stolen from the company? Question 3. What was Diane's real position? Her note suggested she opposed the fraud, but she was still married to Marcus, still planning to host tomorrow's retirement party at their house. My phone rang. Marcus again. This time I answered, keeping my voice neutral. Marcus, sorry. I was in the middle of something. What's up? His voice carried that smooth confidence I'd always admired. Uncle Richard? Just wanted to triple-check tomorrow's schedule. Party starts at 2, but I was hoping you could come by around 1. I want to review the succession documents one more time before guests arrive. Make sure everything's in order for Monday's signing. Monday's signing. The transfer of majority ownership. The moment he'd have unlimited access to company accounts. Sounds good, Marcus. I'll be there at 1. The lie tasted like copper, but I kept my tone light. You know me, always double-checking contracts. He laughed. That's why the company's so successful. Your attention to detail. See you tomorrow, Uncle Richard. After he hung up, I allowed myself 5 minutes of rage. I paced the cramped hotel room, my hands clenched so tight my knuckles went white. Marcus was my brother's son, the boy I'd taught to throw a baseball, the teenager I'd helped through college applications when Daniel died, the young man I'd brought into the business and mentored for 15 years, and he was planning to destroy me. Not just steal from me, but have me declared mentally incompetent, strip away my dignity, my autonomy, everything I'd built. The rage crystallized into something colder. I'd spent 47 years in construction and development. I'd survived the housing crash of 2008, the recession, decades of brutal competition. Marcus had made a fatal miscalculation if he thought his uncle would be an easy mark. I opened my laptop and started researching. Dr. Patricia Whitmore specialized in geriatric psychiatry and legal competency evaluations. Her website featured professional headshots and testimonials from satisfied families. But deeper searches revealed complaints filed with the Arizona Medical Board. 4, over the past 6 years, all related to questionable diagnoses in guardianship cases. None had resulted in sanctions, but the pattern was clear. She was for hire. Cascades Casino had numerous reviews mentioning whale treatment and unlimited credit for high rollers. Marcus had clearly been living a double life. The family man Diane thought she married, and a gambling addict drowning in casino debt. Sunday morning arrived with harsh sunlight through the hotel's thin curtains. I'd slept maybe 4 hours. My mind wouldn't stop planning, calculating, strategizing. The retirement party required careful performance. I needed to appear normal, perhaps slightly tired from the stress of transition, but giving Marcus no indication I knew about his conspiracy. I checked out of the hotel at 8 and drove to a 24-hour diner off Interstate 17. Over coffee and eggs I didn't taste, I mapped out the day ahead. I arrived at Marcus and Diane's house in North Scottsdale at exactly 1 o'clock. Their home was a 4,000-square-foot Pueblo-style property that I'd helped them buy 6 years ago. Co-signed the mortgage, provided the down payment as a gift. Now I looked at it with different eyes, seeing the swimming pool, the casita, the outdoor kitchen, as evidence of spending beyond their means. Marcus met me at the door with a warm embrace. Uncle Richard, come in. Diane's finishing up in the kitchen. Let's go to my office and look over those documents. His home office was decorated with family photos. His wedding to Diane, our company groundbreaking ceremonies, a framed photo of him and his father, my brother Daniel, from before the accident. I felt sick looking at it. Marcus pulled out a leather binder containing the succession agreement. 23 pages of legal language transferring 68% of Coleman construction and development to him, leaving me with 32% as a minority stakeholder and consultant. "Everything looks standard," he said, flipping through pages marked with signature tabs. "You sign here, here, and here." I sign the corresponding sections. We get it notarized Monday morning, file with the state, and the transition is complete. I pretended to review each page carefully, asking technical questions about liability clauses and voting rights, playing the meticulous businessman everyone expected. Meanwhile, my mind was cataloging evidence, the nervous way Marcus kept checking his phone, the expensive watch on his wrist that I didn't remember seeing before. Diane appeared in the doorway, looking pale and strained. "Richard, good to see you. Can I get you something to drink?" Her eyes met mine for just a moment, and I saw something there. Fear, guilt, knowledge. She knew what Marcus was planning. "Just water. Thank you, Diane." I watched her retreat to the kitchen. Marcus continued his careful review of the documents, explaining clauses I'd written myself with our corporate lawyer. At 1:45, he glanced at his watch. "Uncle Richard, I need to make a quick phone call before guests arrive. Business thing. Can you entertain yourself for a few minutes?" The moment he left the room, I opened my phone's voice recorder and slipped it into my shirt pocket. Then I walked quickly down the hall toward the kitchen. Diane was arranging appetizers on serving trays. When she saw me, she flinched. "Diane, I know about the gambling debts. I know about the competency evaluation. I know everything." Her face crumbled. She gripped the counter like she might fall. "Richard, I'm so sorry. I didn't know until 3 weeks ago. I found the bills from that lawyer. Marcus promised me he was just consulting her about your retirement planning, but I saw the email about the evaluation. I left him a note saying I wanted no part of fraud, but he convinced me it was a misunderstanding. I kept my voice low and urgent. Is he still planning to go through with it?" She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "He's desperate. The casino is threatening him. They want their money by the end of September, or they're going to his gaming license board, file charges. He needs access to company funds immediately." "How much does he actually owe?" I asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Last I heard, 7.8 million. But I think it's more now. He's been betting heavier, trying to win it back." I heard footsteps in the hallway. Marcus returning. I stepped back from Diane and returned to my normal speaking voice. "The guacamole looks great, Diane. You always make the best spreads." Marcus appeared in the kitchen doorway, his expression neutral, but his eyes calculating. "Everything okay in here?" Diane wiped her eyes quickly, turning away. "Just emotional about Richard's retirement. It's the end of an era." Guests began arriving at 2. I circulated through the growing crowd, greeting people I'd worked with for decades. Project managers, contractors, city officials, family friends, Marcus's college roommate Kevin, Diane's sister and her husband, old business partners from my early years in construction. By 2:30, 63 people filled the house and sprawled across the backyard patio. Catering staff moved efficiently with drinks and food. A banner hung across the outdoor kitchen. "Happy retirement, Richard Coleman. 47 years of building dreams." At 3:15, Marcus called for attention. The conversations gradually quieted as people gathered around the patio. He stood on the raised deck, microphone in hand, looking every bit the successful executive in his tailored blazer. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate my uncle, my mentor, and the man who built Coleman Construction from the ground up. Richard Coleman has been the foundation of our family and our business for as long as I can remember." His voice caught with what seemed like genuine emotion. "When my father died 15 years ago, Uncle Richard didn't just give me a job. He gave me a purpose. He taught me everything about this business, about integrity, hard work, treating people fairly. Today we celebrate his incredible career and the legacy he's passing on to the next generation." The crowd applauded. Several people wiped their eyes. Marcus raised his glass. "To Uncle Richard, the best boss, the best teacher, the best family a man could ask for." The guests echoed the toast. I raised my glass automatically, tasting nothing. Marcus continued. "Before we eat, I want to show everyone a little video Diane and I put together. A tribute to Richard's 47 years in construction." A projector screen lowered on the patio wall. The lights dimmed slightly. A slideshow began, set to nostalgic music. Photos of me as a young man, breaking ground on my first project, building Coleman construction through the decades. Marcus appeared in photos from his childhood, then his 20s, then recent years. The narrative was clear, the beloved uncle passing the torch to his worthy nephew. After 5 minutes, the video ended to enthusiastic applause. Marcus handed the microphone to Diane. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. I just want to say, Richard, you've been more than an uncle to Marcus. You've been a father, and to me, you've been a mentor and a friend. We're so grateful for everything. Her voice cracked on the last word. She handed the microphone back to Marcus quickly. This was my moment. I stood up slowly, accepting the microphone Marcus offered. Thank you all for being here today. Family and friends mean everything to me, especially after Ellen passed 4 years ago. You've all been my support system. I paused, looking around at the expectant faces. Marcus asked me to say a few words about succession and legacy, about what it means to build something and pass it on to the next generation. I connected my phone to the house's audio system, overriding the slideshow. The screen behind me illuminated with my first image. It was a bank statement. Desert Sky Holdings, LLC. $3.2 million in casino payments. The patio went silent. Marcus's face drained of color. But before we talk about legacy, I want to talk about betrayal. My voice stayed calm, measured, the same tone I used in board meetings. This is a shell company my nephew created 8 months ago. $3.2 million from Coleman construction funds, funneled through this LLC, paid directly to Cascades Casino in Las Vegas. I clicked to the next image. Marcus's email to Terry Bouchard appeared on the 8-foot screen, his words about settling his gambling debts visible to everyone. My nephew owes $7.8 million to a casino. That's not the betrayal, though. Gambling addiction is a disease. The betrayal is what he planned to do about it. Next slide. The competency evaluation request from Dr. Whitmore. The word dementia highlighted. Marcus hired a lawyer to have me declared mentally incompetent. He scheduled a psychiatric evaluation for 5 days from now. His plan was to take control of my company, liquidate assets to pay his gambling debts, and leave me in a care facility somewhere while he destroyed everything I'd built. The crowd erupted in chaos. Kevin, Marcus's college friend, stood up and walked out without a word. Diane's sister was crying. The city officials we'd worked with for years stared at Marcus with horror and disgust. Business partners began talking urgently amongst themselves. Marcus tried to speak, his voice high and desperate. Uncle Richard, you're confused. This is some kind of misunderstanding. You've been so stressed with the retirement. I think you're seeing patterns that aren't there. I remained perfectly calm. I anticipated you'd say that. I clicked to the next slide, which is why I spent yesterday undergoing comprehensive psychiatric evaluation with 3 independent physicians. Dr. Sarah Chen at Mayo Clinic, Dr. Robert Mitchell at Banner Health, Dr. Jennifer Park at Phoenix Neurological Institute. All 3 certified. I have no cognitive impairment whatsoever. I have their written reports here. I held up a folder. I also have sworn affidavits documenting your embezzlement, your gambling debts, and your fraud conspiracy. And I have a revised succession plan that leaves you with nothing. Marcus finally found words. This is insane. You're destroying the family over nothing. I was trying to help the company. Those investments in Vegas were legitimate business development. I clicked through more slides. Credit card statements showing cash advances. Screenshots of his Cascades Casino player account showing losses totaling $9.3 million over 18 months. Documentation of every lie, every theft, every step of his conspiracy. No, Marcus, you were gambling away our family's future, and when you couldn't stop, you decided to steal mine. Diane stood up, her face streaked with tears. I told you not to do this, Marcus. I told you we should tell Richard the truth and ask for help, but you wouldn't listen. She looked at me with something like pleading in her eyes. Richard, I swear I didn't know until 3 weeks ago. I found the lawyer bills and confronted him. He told me it was for estate planning. I believed him until I saw that email about the evaluation. I nodded slowly. I know, Diane. You left him that note, warning him away from elder fraud. You tried to stop him. I disconnected my phone and picked up my briefcase. The guests parted as I walked toward the exit. Behind me, I could hear Marcus trying to explain, his voice breaking as his carefully constructed life collapsed. Diane sobbing. Kevin and the other business associates discussing in low, urgent voices the legal and professional implications. At the door, I turned back one final time. Marcus, on Monday morning, our corporate lawyer will file embezzlement charges with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. I've also reported the fraud conspiracy to the Arizona Medical Board regarding Dr. 2P. Whitmore, you'll likely face criminal charges. As for Coleman Construction, I'm restructuring ownership. The company will transition to an employee stock ownership plan over the next 5 years. People who actually earn their stake. I looked at Diane. There's a trust fund I've set up. If you divorce him within 6 months and cooperate with authorities, it's yours. Enough to start over. Your choice. Then I walked out into the September heat, leaving behind the wreckage of the retirement party and what remained of my family. The drive back to Paradise Valley took 30 minutes through Sunday afternoon traffic. I kept the radio off, driving in silence through North Scottsdale's pristine neighborhoods. My phone started buzzing within minutes. Marcus calling, texting, leaving voicemails that progressed from angry to desperate to pleading. I deleted them without listening. That evening, sitting in Ellen's favorite armchair in our empty house, I poured a whiskey and tried to process what I'd done. The house felt cavernous. Photos of Marcus at various ages lined the mantel. His high school graduation, his wedding to Diane, groundbreaking ceremonies where he stood proudly beside me. All of it felt like a lie now. My phone rang close to midnight. Through the window, I saw Marcus's car in my driveway. A moment later, he was pounding on the front door. I opened it but didn't invite him inside. Uncle Richard, please. I made mistakes. Terrible mistakes, but I never would have actually gone through with the competency evaluation. I was just scared. The casino was threatening me, and I panicked. But I love you. You're the only father I've ever really had. His face was ravaged by tears. His expensive clothes rumpled. I kept my voice flat, emotionless. You hired a corrupt doctor, Marcus. You scheduled an evaluation. You had a timeline. That's not panic. That's premeditation. I'm your family. Your brother's son. Doesn't that mean anything? His voice broke on the last word. It meant everything, which was why this hurt worse than any business failure, any professional betrayal. You chose to gamble that relationship away, Marcus. You chose your addiction over me, over the company, over everything Dad and I built together. Now you live with the consequences. I started to close the door. Uncle Richard, please. Don't do this. I'll get help. I'll pay back every cent. I'll go to gambling addiction treatment. Just don't press charges. Don't destroy my life. I closed the door gently but firmly. Through the wood, I could hear him sobbing. The sound of my nephew, my brother's son, reduced to helpless desperation. Part of me wanted to relent, to find mercy somewhere in the wreckage. But I remembered the evaluation form, the word dementia used to describe my supposedly failing mind. The care facility they'd planned to warehouse me in while Marcus liquidated everything. I'd spent 47 years building Coleman Construction. I'd survived Daniel's death, Ellen's cancer, decades of brutal business competition. I wouldn't survive being declared incompetent by my own family. 3 weeks later, I sat in my lawyer's office reviewing the final documents. Martin had been my attorney for 26 years. He closed the file folder with a tired expression. Richard, you've protected yourself completely. Marcus can't touch the company assets now. Not through guardianship, fraud, or any other means. The ESOP structure ensures the business passes to employees who earned their stake. What's the situation with Marcus? I asked. Martin's expression darkened. The Maricopa County attorney filed embezzlement charges last Monday. Marcus turned himself in Wednesday. He made bail, but he's facing 8 to 15 years. His lawyer is negotiating a plea deal, gambling addiction treatment in exchange for reduced sentence, restitution payments. 8 to 15 years. My nephew, in prison. My brother's son, a convicted felon. And Diane? I asked. Martin consulted his notes. She filed for divorce Friday, cooperating fully with prosecutors. She'll testify about his attempts to hide the gambling debts. Her testimony will be crucial for the fraud charges. The trust fund I set up for her. Make sure she gets access once the divorce is final. She tried to stop him. That counts for something. Martin nodded. Already in motion. She's also been helpful in recovering some of the embezzled funds. She found bank records Marcus thought he'd hidden. It won't cover everything, but it's substantial. I stood to leave. Thank you, Martin, for everything. He walked me to the door. Richard, I have to ask. Do you regret how you handled this? Public exposure at his own event. It was brutal. I thought about that question for a long moment. Every single day, I wonder if there was another way. If I'd confronted him privately, offered to help with the gambling debts, maybe things would be different. But then I remember that evaluation form, the timeline, the shell company. Marcus wasn't thinking about stealing from me. He was actively doing it. The only thing that stopped him was being caught. Martin nodded slowly. You protected yourself and the company. That's what matters. But was it? As I drove back to my empty house, I wasn't sure anymore. Coleman construction continued without me. I'd officially retired the day after the party. Let the ESOP transition begin. My former project managers, good people who'd worked beside me for decades, were now the leadership team. The company was in capable hands. Better hands than Marcus's would have been. I spent my days at the house in Paradise Valley, trying to figure out what retirement meant when you had nothing left to retire to. No Ellen, no Marcus, no family at all, really, except distant cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. 6 months after the party, Diane came to see me. She looked thinner, older, worn down by legal proceedings and the collapse of her marriage. Richard, I wanted to thank you for the trust fund, for giving me a way out. We sat on my back patio, overlooking the valley. I should have told you sooner about the gambling. I saw signs for months. The cash withdrawals, the mysterious trips to Vegas, but I loved him, and I thought I could fix him. You can't fix an addiction, Diane. Only the addict can do that. She nodded, wiping tears. He calls me from jail sometimes, begs me to take him back, to testify on his behalf instead of against him, but I can't. What he tried to do to you was evil. We sat in silence for a while, two people connected only by the wreckage of a family. Do you ever see him? She asked finally. Marcus? No. His lawyer asked if I'd consider a victim impact statement supporting leniency. I declined. The words felt like stones. He made his choices. Now he faces the consequences. Diane left an hour later. I watched her car disappear down the driveway and wondered if I'd made the right choices too. The righteous ones, certainly. The protective ones. But the right ones? I wasn't sure there was a difference anymore. Late at night, when the house is particularly quiet, I sometimes look at the photo of Daniel, my brother, from the funeral 15 years ago. I promised him I'd take care of Marcus, guide him, be the father he'd lost. I kept that promise for 15 years, mentored him, taught him the business, gave him opportunities he'd never have had otherwise, and in the end, he tried to destroy me. Was that my failure, Daniel's, or just Marcus's own choices catching up with him? I don't know. The victories of survival, of protecting myself and the company, feel exactly as hollow as I expected. I saved Coleman Construction. I ensured my employees would prosper. I protected my assets and my dignity. Those are achievements worth recognizing. They just don't fill the emptiness of a house that was supposed to be filled with family. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to Astral Vengeance, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever discovered betrayal from someone you trusted completely? How did you handle it? Your stories matter. To watch the next story, click the video on the left.